This is Anime Ricochet. Hello everyone, my name is Jeff, and with me, as always, is a man who has never been in a real fight before. His name is Jacoby, aka Kobe. Welcome to the show, Kobe.
That's so not true. I have so been in a fight. You can ask
really?
anybody. Yeah.
I'll ask you, have you been in a fight before?
Define fight. Does it need two people?
I'm talking, yes, it involves two people. I'm talking schoolyard bully bashing. I'm talking you bump into a guy at the bar and he spills his drink on you and you punch him, you know? I'm talking like raw, real life shit. You been in any of those?
I've been in a situation where someone bumps into me and it's obviously their fault, but I apologize. Does that count as a fight?
I'll give you that one.
Sweet. Okay, so I'm an expert fighter then.
But did you win that fight?
No.
Oh. Yeah, I've never been in any fight either. I got beat up at school once, and then I never saw that guy again because I told on him like a little bitch.
Well, you maybe did the right thing? I don't know.
I don't know. What is right? What is wrong? Anyways, if you don't know, this is Anime Ricochet, the podcast where two dudes who know nothing about sports talk about sports anime. And if you didn't get the hint, the sport that we're talking about is fighting, martial arts, MMA, karate, judo. The anime in question is Baki. On
dun dun dun
dun dun dun. Did you do any martial arts?
Yeah, I actually did when I was a little
shit.
kid. Yeah, I was.
Wait, which one?
Karate. You know, I got with the belts, and I think I got up to yellow belt with green tape.
Is that good?
I don't know. I think it's like, no, I don't think it is.
Is that the black belt version of the kids?
Yeah. No, I could not chop a board in half.
Oh,
or
what?
You know, or do all that karate stuff.
If you did continue in your training, you'd be a force to be reckoned with because you're kind of a lanky fellow. Your long limbs would give you a huge advantage, I would imagine.
I think so too. They would call me the octopus.
Because you have 8 arms.
Yes. That's why.
6 of them are very small and they don't go through your shirt.
No, they're only when you take my shirt off, you see my little nub hands.
You're a freak. Yeah. I dabble into martial arts briefly. Actually, just a year ago? No, a couple years ago, I think. I did a bit of jiu-jitsu. Did it for about 8 months. Not sure if I want to go back and do it yet, but life got a bit busy and I, didn't stop going consistently. Anyways, I wasn't very good, but it was fun. Maybe I'll go back. Who knows? But yeah, now that
maybe this anime will inspire you to go back.
Maybe. Listen to find out. With all that personal history out of the way, shall we get into the discussion?
Let's do it.
Okay, let us begin. So, Baki is an anime based off of a manga known as Grappler Baki, or Baki the Grappler, whichever one you like. It was a series written and illustrated by Keisuke Itagaki, and it was originally serialized in Weekly Shonen Champion from 1991 to 1999. Then there was a few sequels afterwards. There was one where it went from 1999 to 2005, and then there was one for 2005 to 2012, and then there's one from 2014 to 2018, and now there's a 5th series, which began on October 4th, 2018, so it's still going, basically, is what I'm saying. Keisuke Itagaki is kind of a very interesting a guy who writes manga.
Sure.
He was, before he was a manga artist, he served for 5 years in the 1st Airborne Brigade of the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force. During his service, he practiced amateur boxing and has competed in the National Sports Festival. He also holds a degree in Shorinji Kempo, which he has practiced since he was a teenager. And I mean, I actually, what really got me into the show was this video by Super Eye Patch Wolf. He talked about the manga Grappler Baki, and he highlights how much passion the artist has behind martial arts, and I think you can really feel that just watching the show. So yeah, it's really interesting. Like this guy, what makes a good sports anime? Well, one of the things that makes good sports anime is that the author knows their shit, and I think this guy knows his shit. But we'll see.
I think he knows his shit, but I don't think he knows how the human body functions.
Well, we'll see. We'll get into that. So yeah, we're talking specifically about Baki, the anime series which released on Netflix. This actually isn't the first anime series which released. This is actually the 3rd anime series. There was a 24-episode anime series which aired between January 8, 2001 to June 25th, 2001. And then another one, a second one, which came out, which was between July 23rd, 2001 to December 24th, 2001. So basically the original anime series came out years ago, almost 20 years ago, like 18 years ago. That's crazy. And here it is.
And this is like, and this, if correct me if I'm wrong, this is like kind of a sequel because it just like adapts what happens after that story, right?
Yeah, this tackles, I think, the third arc of the anime series. I might be wrong on that, but or maybe it's the second one. I'm not sure. But yeah, it very much starts in the middle of the story, and we'll talk about the consequences of that later on. But usually in these sports anime podcasts, known as Anime Ricochet, where two dudes know nothing about sports talk about sports anime, we talk about the characters first. So let's start off with the protagonist himself. His name is Baki. And Baki is this jacked 17-year-old kid who's so fucking strong. He's like the strongest martial artist in the world at age 17. He can scare people with a look. He can scare grown men. He can scare teenagers. But inside is a heart of gold, a tender soul who wants nothing but love from another girl.
From a girl, from not another girl.
A girl.
That makes it sound like he's a girl.
You're right. He's not a girl. He is, in fact, a boy, as far as we know. But yeah, he's this fucking badass dude. And yeah, what do you think of Baki? the titular
Baki,
character.
The titular character of the show, in my opinion, is boring as shit. He is the least interesting part of his own show. And the problem with that, and the reason that's the case, is because this is Anime Ricochet. We're two dudes who know nothing about sports, talk about sports anime. We're coming in after the sports anime part. This is like he's already gone through the tournament to become the best martial artist in the world. This is about the consequences of being the best martial artist in the world. This is like in some of our favorite sports animes like Haikyuu, if the team, after we're done watching Haikyuu and the team, wins it all and goes to the championship, this picks up like a year later where death row volleyball champions come back and challenge them to the death. I mean, so we're not watching it from the sports angle of it. We're talking about afterwards. And that's what makes Baki so not interesting, in my opinion, because he's already accomplished everything he's basically set out to accomplish. So he just kind of reacts to everything around him, which I think is what makes him so plain. When you're surrounded by over-the-top eccentric characters, at the center of the show is just a dude who sometimes doesn't appear in an episode, sometimes only appears to kiss a girl,
Yeah.
and that's it. But to be the anchor of the show that all these mass villains want to kill, I'm a little disappointed in Baki.
Yeah, so I guess, like we said, this anime picks up very much in the middle of the story, and there's a lot of flashbacks and exposition in general about every character in the show, and it includes Baki. We learn through exposition that, yeah, he won this badass tournament, and this is basically what he is and who he is, and we're just kind of supposed to accept that. And it's not really the fault of the show, because there are two preceding anime series. I mean, the show isn't really for us, I guess, because we didn't really catch up at all with the source material. Mm-hmm. So I can't really fault the show for that, because it'd be like entering the third season of any show. So yeah, I can't really put negative marks on that. And but I do think that this show, for releasing over a decade, almost 2 decades after its initial anime release, it is, I think it does have some responsibility to try and attract new viewers such as ourselves and get us into the story. And yeah, it really doesn't tell us much about Baki, and maybe it's because like this arc in particular, Baki isn't really featured much.
Yeah.
So who knows? They might just be being faithful to the source material in that sense. But we see some fight scenes of him, and you see his prowess more in how people react to him, and how he intimidates people with just a glance. Like, oh, that's how tough he is. You don't got to see him fight, because he's just so bored and lazy with other fighters, and he just looks at people and they run away, shitting their pants. Yeah, and outside of his very few fight scenes, we see this is basically Baki the soap opera. Like he, you know,
It really is.
a lot of it is like a lot of scenes that he's in involve him and this other girl and their growing relationship, and even this relationship we're entering into the middle of. They're kind of like getting to the point where like, you know, they're really becoming serious, and we see a flashback of them to their first kiss. We don't even see their first kiss. We flashback. Well, we do see their first kiss, but in flashback form. And so present day, current day things are just kind of a continuation of that, and them becoming more of a pair. And
Yeah. This show has definitely what I call "who the fuck is this itis," where it just all of a sudden like introduces a character, and I just say to myself, "Who the fuck is this?" Like, how does this person fit into the story? And just like all of a sudden he's with his girlfriend. It's like, oh, he has a girlfriend who they're kind of serious about, and then we devote all of Baki's arc to that.
Yeah, so I will have to agree with you. He's not really the most interesting character. So let's get into the more interesting characters, shall we?
Let's do it.
So the whole story behind this anime is that there are these insanely dangerous people that are all locked up in super high security prisons all around the world. And coincidentally, they all break out on the same day using their immense physical prowess and cunning, basically superhuman powers of martial arts and weaponry and intelligence, whatnot. They all escape these prisons and they all converge on Japan, and they all seek one thing. They seek defeat. They want to be beat because of how invincible they are, I guess. And so we're not really going to go too much into detail with these characters. So I'll just describe what they are and or who they are and like what they're known for, I guess. And then at the end, we'll talk about what our favorite is. So, just off the bat, these 5 dudes, like we said, they're criminals, but they really represent kind of like the dark underbelly of martial arts. Like they fight dirty. They're all really they use emotions to their advantage. They trick people. They don't fight fair, essentially.
They fight with no honor.
Yeah, no honor at all. Well, so let's start with Kaioh Dorian. He's let's see, where is he from? He's from America. His thing is he uses like weapons. His special weapon is like this thing. It kind of looks like a lighter, but like this very extremely thin but strong wire comes out, and he's able to wield it in such a way where he's able to secretly cut off people's limbs and cut off their faces.
It's like the same thing magicians use, but if magicians were pure evil.
Yeah. And so he used that to his advantage. And he's also able to ingest a lot of explosives and chemicals. Like in the middle of fights, he'll just like cough up grenades and like bottles of like liquid, like gasoline. So yeah, this guy is intense. But he also is fairly good at martial arts. So he's a real force.
And hypnosis. You forgot hypnosis.
Oh yeah, hypnosis. He does fucking hypnosis. So that kind of gives you a taste for what the show is. This show's batshit crazy. Let's just get that out there right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Kaioh Dorian. And then the next character is Hector Doyle. He's from the UK. And this guy, we don't really see much of this guy in this show. His thing is he has like secret knife or like sharp daggers or like razors all over his body.
Yeah, that's his thing. In his clothes, right?
Yeah, in his clothes. Like some guy tries to grab his collar, and then his hands get fucked up just because of that, because he's got razors lining the inside of his collar. He also fights with those sharp razors like in his hands. So whenever he and his feet too. So whenever he punches and like kicks you, you're just getting sliced to death.
He also likes to jump really high, attack somebody, but then never be seen again.
Yeah, he's kind of a mystery, this guy. We haven't really seen much of him. So that's Hector Doyle. Then we have Sikorsky. He's from Russia. He's a ruthless guy, and he's very deceptive. This guy, I think, he feigns a defeat and sadness and tries to beg for mercy and that kind of thing. Although Kaioh Dorian does that to a fair extent as well. But yeah, this guy is really known for that specifically. He will lure people with his emotions. He will be like, "Oh, please, I got defeated," and then suddenly just like beat the shit out of them using like weights and dumbbells, or he'll just punch the shit out of people. He's just another tough guy. I don't know what his fighting style is. I think it's mostly
being
I don't
Russian.
Know. Yeah, Russian.
I don't think
he's just a brawler.
Just a fighter. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up we have Spec. And Spec is I think one of the more interesting ones. First of all, his face. He looks like a fucking distorted clown, and it really fits because he's really like the most joyous villain of the 5. He's kind of the Joker, I guess, of the crew. He's very happy and humorous most of the time, and I guess he's kind of a brawler as well. He uses everything at his disposal to defeat people. He like at one time carries a bench and like whacks someone with it. But his most special move is that he's able to hold his breath super long, and he has a special move where like he has like this barrage of attacks where he doesn't have to take a breath in between each blow. So it's just kind of like this ruthless series of punches and kicks.
Yeah, it makes him more deadly because he doesn't have to breathe.
Yeah. He's a really good swimmer, I guess, too.
Melted clown dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's also from the USA. And then lastly, we have Ryuko Yanagi, and he's from Japan. He's the more stoic person, and his thing is he has a special technique involving oxygen. Like, he can create a vacuum within his hand and use that to, like, poison people by basically reducing the oxygen that they breathe, which knocks them unconscious.
Because he's practiced that, you know?
Yeah,
you can do that.
You can do that. I think that's science. Yeah, it's a lot of science in the show, too.
You can destroy anything that way.
Also, if I remember correctly, doesn't he, like, blow into a guy's ear and blow up his head? Is that real? I think I dreamed that.
No, that anything you thought you dreamt about the show, it didn't. It happened in the show.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, he's the more, I guess, formal of the 5 guys.
You want to know what the world's deadliest gas is? And it's this, and he blows out the guy's brains. And it's like, I didn't answer.
I didn't learn nothing.
Yeah,
this was the worst science lesson ever. So those are the 5 guys. That's the dark underbelly of the martial arts for you. And so Kobe, who's your favorite of these 5?
I'm torn between Poisonous Gas Dude and Dorian, but I think I'm going to give it to Poisonous Gas Dude just because
sheer ridiculousness.
Like, I was about to say everybody else is grounded in realness. Like that's not true. They're not. But this stoic guy is at least like stands apart from all these other ones. Mm-hmm. Like these other guys that larger than life, big personalities can kind of be, traded out from another. But this guy's just like, he's calm, he's collected, and he can destroy fucking concrete walls by just touching it because he practiced air bubbles or something. So I'm going to give it to him.
My favorite would have to be Spec. Because, they all are kind of the same and that they all take joy in being evil bastards. But this guy I hated the most in particular, and I think that's what makes him the most effective. We didn't really see much of the other people. We saw, I think the most in this season you see, well, in the 13 episodes we have so far, we see Spec and Dorian probably the most. And Spec, I think I just love to hate this guy because he was such a bastard. He was the most, I guess, assholey of all of them.
You
and
hated Spec more than Dorian?
Oof, it's close. But I like Spec more because I think I'll get into that a little bit more later. I mostly like Spec paired with my other favorite character on the show. But so I just hated him because he's the most bastardy of them, and also his face, dude. That fucking face. He looks the most unique.
Face will sink 100 ships.
Yeah, he looks fucked up, which is great for villains. Then we'll go into another thing about this show is all these guys, all these dangerous criminals, they escape prison and they converge on Japan. And what we have is these guys want to they're pitted up against these 5 other guys, which includes Baki. And these 5 guys represent like the light side of martial arts. Like these guys are the purists, the traditionalists. They don't use dirty tricks or dirty weapons whenever they fight. They use their raw power, technique, speed, their years of training in order to overcome these bad guys. So let's start with Kaoru. So we already went over Baki. He was one of the 5. So now I'm just gonna go over 4 more people. Let's start with Kaoru Hanayama. This guy, did you know that he's 15 years old?
What? No, wait. Which one's Kaoru Hanayama?
He's the Yakuza guy.
No way.
According to my anime list, he's 15 years old. This is my first time seeing this, by the way. But yeah, he's he's a 15-year-old guy. If you haven't seen the show, he's this hulking monster of a dude who looks like he's seen all kinds of shit. And he's like a leader of a Yakuza gang, and he's got this badass scar tattoo on his back, and his face is kind of fucked up too. But yeah, he's a 15-year-old. Anyways, this guy, he's also basically a brawler. His special power, I guess, is his grip strength. Like, his grip is so strong that, grip meter strength things can measure them. That's how fucking badass
That's pretty strong.
And he's just this hulking big dude of guy. He doesn't talk. He's the guy that the quiet guy. Although there's more than one quiet guy in this group of 5 dudes.
Yeah.
So that's Kaoru Hanayama. Then we have Doppo Orochi, voiced by what's this guy's name? I know I could no, I forgot his name, but he's the guy who voices him is like a famous voice actor. He worked on like Cowboy Bebop. I think he was a Toonami guy. Anyways, that's beside the point. This guy, his gig is karate. He's head of the Shinshinkai Karate School. And he has honed more than 50 years of his life doing karate. He's broken fingers by like smashing his fingers against wood, planks, and stone. He's toned his body to perfect his craft of karate. All he knows is karate. Also, he has an eye patch. He's cool, I guess.
Doppo
Orochi,
dope.
Karate guy, basically.
Yeah.
Then you have Retsu Kaioh, and this guy's gig is kung fu, and he's also very quiet. We don't really see that much of this guy's. We don't really see this guy in action that much. We see a little bit of his backstory, but other than that, he's just kind of there. I don't
think I'd be able to say. There's this mixture of like 3 guys who like look like him, who I have no idea if this is one of them or not.
It's super likely you'll get this guy mixed up for someone else because he doesn't really say anything and doesn't do much. And last guy is Gouki Shibukawa. He's kind of a crazy old guy. His thing is we don't really get to see much of him, but he's more of a trickster guy. He's I think the oldest guy, or at least the oldest looking. So he has to rely on like misdirection and trickery to get around his opponents. But like I said, we don't really get to see much of him. Reading his My Anime List profile, I guess he's all about Aiki, which I don't know what that is. I know Aikido, maybe that's what it is, but we don't even really get to see much of that in the show. But yeah, anyways, of these 4, who's your favorite?
Yeah, definitely not Baki.
I guess Baki's included in here. So yeah, so of the 5.
I guess I'll give it to Kaoru, the 15-year-old.
Hanayama,
yeah, the 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it to him. He started off as the silent type, but he had a kind of a cool backstory when you gave it to him. But to me, Doppo's, I guess, a second, even though I think Doppo's a fucking failure in all ways. Yeah. But I guess I'll give it to Kaoru.
I'll give it to Kaoru as well. I think he's involved with my favorite fight in the whole show, or the 13 episodes we've seen so far. And he's just I would say Doppo Orochi probably has the most distinguishable character, because Kaoru doesn't really say shit either. But, he is what he is. He's just a hulking dude that will rip you to pieces. And that's pretty respectable. You can't measure this guy's grip. That's how strong it is.
You can't. They've tried. They can't do it.
They've tried. It goes up to 100. It goes past that.
Anything? Yeah. Well, just change your fucking scale.
Yeah, his grip strength is 100 plus. That's impressive. So those are the characters. And, there are way more characters than just that. You'd be surprised. I briefly mentioned this, but the entire season of the show isn't out yet, which I don't think knew going into this. So we're kind of reviewing half of this show so far. But in this 13 episode stint that we saw, there's a shit ton of characters, and some of them last a while, some of them don't. You don't really know who's going to be important. Some of them last a lot longer than you think. So
some of them get introductory scenes, like the guy who's like a biker who like looked up to one of the 5. I forgot who. I think it was Kaoru. He looked up to, and he broke up a fight. And it's like, this guy's a biker who looked up to him, and he broke up, the fight between those 2 guys. Mm-hmm. And then we never saw that guy again. That had no semblance or bearing on the story whatsoever.
And then again, I think this is a consequence of the fact that we're entering this show in the middle. And, like I said, they do make an effort to like tell you who these characters are. Ultimately, though, a lot of them don't matter. I think they give introductory segments to characters that probably mattered a lot in prior chapters of the manga or in the prior anime. So maybe that's what it's for. It's like, hey, these guys were big in the other anime shows. You guys who have seen it already, you know this guy, remember this guy. And for those who don't know, this guy did this thing, and then we never see them again.
I think it's because the narrator has a drinking problem, and he has the script of like everything he's supposed to say, and then he'll be like, oh, then there's the nitroglycerin on the table. Let me tell you about nitroglycerin, like for like a bit. Like you'll never believe. Oh no, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, this guy was doing this thing.
Yeah,
this guy has this backstory. Oh, then something else. So that's why I blame the narrator.
Yeah, the show has an interesting way of explaining things. They kind of explain things in a sort of oblique way where like they'll talk, yeah, like you said, they'll talk about nitroglycerin, which relates to synchronicity, and then like in another part they'll talk about like bite strength in athletes, and then they'll be like, this one guy had a really strong bite, and it's the guy on screen.
I have a dentist friend. Let me go talk to him for like a second.
Yeah, so like I said, this show has a shit ton of characters, and I only went over the ones that I think is safe to say are the main dudes of the show. So yeah. What do you think of the cast overall? Are these people enough to carry the show?
You know what? I'm actually gonna say no. To be honest with you, I think all the villains can be interesting on their own right, but it doesn't matter when the heroes themselves I'm not really invested in. Because for me to really hate a villain, I need a hero strong enough to fight them. And it's definitely not Baki so far. And all the other heroes are either... Because my problem with the show in general, it's like the heroes and these fight scenes in general, it's like they're over and then they're not over. Like they extend way past the point where they should. Where it's like they could easily move on to like the next fight. It's like, nope, that fight, let's go somewhere else and fight again. And sure, that creates some interesting graphics and dynamics, but as like on a character level, it's just like, dude, it's like, is this really necessary?
Who the fuck are these people? Yeah,
who are these guys?
Yeah, they have to fit a lot into this 13 episode segment, and they sacrifice a lot of depth with these people. We don't really know who these characters are. I mean, at the same time, I mean, it's kind of it's a battle anime at its heart. So do we need to know these people? Like, is this anime? Should we expect great characters from our shows where, you know, people who watch it are obviously interested in beating the shit out or watching people beat the shit out of each other? I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking about that like halfway through, just like, because I realized I was watching kind of wrong. I was thinking about, where's Baki? And I realized, nope, I should stop trying to care about Baki and focus on these characters at hand. But even when they did focus on these characters at hand, I would prefer more insight into actually these characters, like while they were fighting, instead of like going off into like,
their technique or their years of training.
And their technique, I would prefer more like insight. I don't want backstory. I don't want backstory. I want insight into what makes these characters tick instead of just how much they trained, because it's giving me nothing. It gives me cool fights about why these two are fighting, but nothing about why, you know? It's
like you know, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, you know, all these characters, they all just kind of, because when it's just like that, they blend together. Like Doppo's whole squad. Doppo has like a squad of like 3 or 4 people around him at all times, and I don't know who any of them are.
Yeah. Like, you know these guys are tough, but you want to know why they're tough.
Yeah.
Like, this fucking Kaoru Hanayama, he's 15 years old. Why is he so tough?
Yeah, well, sure, he's a badass and he's a hulking dude, but it's like, but what's the hard? What does he like doing?
What's he doing in his free time? Does he like knitting? What's his favorite food?
Yeah, I want to know these things. So yeah, that's what are your thoughts?
I agree. These characters there's not much to say about them, but I think I was more willing to accept the show for its flaws, in particular the flawed characters, because of the fight scenes and just the brutality of it all. Like, this is a spectacle show, essentially. That you watch this show not for the characters, but to watch people beat each other up in spectacular fashion. Yeah. And I accept it for that, and I like that. You know, I'm all about. I grew up in the age of the Narutos and the Dragon Balls. You know, I like my battle anime. I like watching dudes beat each other up. And as I know from past battle animes, sometimes the characters, they just kind of suck. And you're in it for the fight scenes, baby. And this is one of those shows.
Yeah, I know. I really am just like watching it wrong about like just why I watch shows in general. I feel like like talking about the depth of the characters and getting into it. I just want to chug a bunch of like Mountain Dew or something and turn my hat backwards and just like watch this. You know, I want
Turn your hat backwards.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how you know you're relaxing.
Get like really into it. Wear like my fingerless gloves or something and just like yell at the screen.
Yeah.
But it's hard for how I normally view anime.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I have to change that in order to enjoy this show? That's the balance that I'm struggling with.
You're too sophisticated. I think really the show's not for everyone. It's not for you. Maybe we'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So let's talk about the way it represents the sport itself. So the sport, it represents. This is a martial arts show, I guess. Characters in the show, they practice martial arts. Yes. And as we know, the artist and the author, Keisuke Itagaki, he has a passion for martial arts. So I think he does know his shit, but he's willing to exaggerate it to its full capacity. Because first, okay, so the sport itself, martial arts, I guess the first way to talk about it is how fucking grotesquely buff these characters are. We were talking earlier about how crazy buff these guys are. They look like they're hurting from all that muscle that they're packing.
Yeah, there's no way that they're. It looks like they're about to explode.
Yeah, yeah. They have muscles on muscles on muscles, and yeah, they. But at the same time, you gotta admire the animation. Like they are very meticulous about the little details about each muscle. Like again, I was watching the Super Eye Patch Wolf video about Grappler Baki, and like I guess apparently. You know, if you look at like the human body and the muscle structure, you can see all the muscles on the human body on a regular person on the buff dudes. And here, it's just that these buff dudes' muscles are all fucking blown out of proportion. But it's anatomically correct, but it's insane, is what I'm saying.
It's just strange to me because this isn't a world where everybody's like that. There's a bunch of normal looking people too.
Oh yeah.
So that makes me think like, what do those people think when they see these types of individuals? And they just accept it, just like, oh, this guy's pretty big. He's like, no, he's not just pretty big. He's fucking huge.
Yeah, he's
like,
tank.
He is grotesque and he's an elephant of a man.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have those type of people living side by side with everyday humans, then it's
mortals.
Yeah, mere mortals, and these are gods because they practice karate and martial arts.
Karate. Yeah, I mean, so that's one aspect of it. That I guess that's one representation of martial arts is like their body types. And I don't know, man. I was into it. I was into it because it was kind of funny how buff these guys were. But I don't know. Was it like distracting to you?
I think a little bit. It's just like I got it going forward, but just it became a reveal where like people rip off their clothes and they're so buff. And after episode like 6 or 7, I'm just like, I get it. Like
everyone takes off their clothes when they fight in this one. No one keeps their clothes on.
Some of them do it. Some of them rip off their clothes. Some of them literally jump out of it.
Yeah.
Some of them there's different ways to take off your clothes. That's the hardest. I bet that's the first technique you got to master. Is what's the best way to get out of your clothes?
Yeah, you can really tell a lot about a martial artist by how they take off their clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's talk about the martial arts themselves. So, man, I don't really know much about martial arts. But...
Yeah, can you tell? But because it seems like the show was like showed different forms of martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
But could you tell the difference between any of them?
No, but I mean, I am the untrained eye. So I guess off the top of my head, I know they showed some karate. I think karate was one of the bigger martial arts they showed because a lot of the fight is dedicated to one of the karate masters. Spoiler alert, I guess. And then there's like a little bit of kung fu, but not too much. And then this other guy, one of the bad guys, Kaioh Dorian, he's trained in like, I guess Kenpo. But yeah, I don't know. Because karate, I think, is the most distinguished martial art that's shown in here. The other ones don't really get a chance to shine. So, it's at the end of the day, to me, it's just punches and kicks. So to answer your question, I can't really tell the difference between them. I can't appreciate the nuances and the subtleties between the different martial arts. So
this isn't a Yuri on Ice of martial arts.
No, it's not. It's like, yeah, it's very much an exaggerated battle anime. So I would say don't go into this expecting to learn much about these martial arts. What you will learn about is, the dedication to the martial art. But like, you know, that's kind of, we've seen that. You can be dedicated to anything. You could be dedicated to taking a shit, taking the most perfect shit in your entire life. 50 years you practice your rectum and you drink the finest fiber juices and make sure your colon is the healthiest and cleanest. And that would be, that would be the same thing as what we saw here, is the dedication to karate. 50 years to hone your body. But I want to know the intricacies, the details of that shit-taking / karate.
Right.
And we don't really get that.
You could have picked any metaphor.
No, but I went for that one. And I don't know why. But, this is all to say we don't get to appreciate the martial art that much. And I think that's sad, because, I mean, in my brief stint of martial arts with, jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of, like, really subtle things. Like, the difference between a novice and a master is, like, immense, obviously.
Yeah.
But, like, the way to get there and the different techniques and the science behind it, too. Like, the technical stuff of maybe throwing a punch or approaching someone, dodging an attack, trying to do a certain move on, like, grappling an opponent. Those are the things that I would have loved to learn. And tying that to a character and their growth, that would have been really cool to see. But nah, we're in the middle of the show, man. So I guess I shouldn't have expected any of that stuff. Maybe there was some of that in the past.
Yeah, we really should go back to see when Baki actually is learning to be the greatest of all time, like how he trained.
There's in the intro, they show Baki fighting, and he's, like I said, this is Baki the Grappler. So I was hoping to see some grappling. Maybe we'll see some of that later on, because we're only halfway through the show. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the sports. Like, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, everything that you said it wasn't as intricate as I wanted it to be. It was, it kind of will segue. Is the next animation? Is that what we talk about next?
I was going to talk a little bit about the fight scenes, because I think that's another.
Well, yeah, it's like that's what I'll say about the fights, because it kind of segs into that, is because we don't get a lot of intricacies. Like the fight scenes, a lot of them they either look great because of the graphics and the blood, or they look fucking terrible with CG with 3D blocking.
Yeah,
like some of them are really bad, but some, it's like they're moves where it's like it's not fluid. It's really like everyone gets like one hit at a time. Like it's like bah, and the camera freezes. Bah, camera freezes. Bah, camera freezes, and like that. Or it's like that super fast flurry of things where it's like bah, 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 bah. There's no in between where you see a really cool choreographed fight.
Oh, so 100% agree. Yeah. So as I said before, this is a spectacle anime. You're not going to see an intricate one-shot choreographed fight scene, which I love. They don't do any of that, and it's a shame, because I feel like in like battle animes like Naruto and like I guess Dragon Ball Z is kind of guilty of this as well. It's kind of just doing one big blow and then cutting to the next one. But like, I mean, I remember in Naruto there were some really beautiful just like sequences where there were no cuts at all. You'd see people dodging attacks and like punching and stuff, and that's in a fucking show about ninjas, like magic ninjas. In a show that's, I guess more quote-unquote grounded with real martial arts, it would have been really cool to see an actual like fight between martial arts, but we don't really see that. That being said, those one-shots, those like single frames of people getting pummeled, I don't know, I really like that stuff. Like, I think, like you said, when the animation, I think overall the animation is really good, actually, because people get fucking brutalized in really creative ways. They get ripped apart, their faces get punched in, bones are crushed.
You say very creative ways. It's just a different way to smash somebody's face in. Like it's not the same result.
That's one of the things. I mean, a dude gets some hair in his eye, but the hair is traveling at like light speed. I haven't seen that shit.
That happens 3 times.
A dude gets punched in the face with a nub of an arm. Like, like his stubby arm, because his hand gets cut off. But a dude gets punched in the face with it. I haven't seen that shit before. Or, someone getting beat up with a bench. Some dude with his face getting blown up. People get maimed in the show. Getting their brains
blown out because the world's most dangerous gas.
People get maimed in this show, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm a fan of that. I am a fan of a good maiming and death.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess talking about the fighting and the animation goes kind of hand in hand. So I think the fighting, the animation was really good, and going hand in hand with that, the fighting was really good. So what do you think of the fighting? Did it get your blood pumping watching these dudes beat each other up?
Yeah, it did to some extent, but it's just my problem with the show goes back to what I said before about the fights go on for too long. Like, I think that it seems like there's an end point to the fight, but then like, oh, not over quite yet, because then there's like either it bleeds into a new arena, a new place where they have to reface each other. It creates for me, a lack of conclusion to any of these fights because there's an unwillingness to kill characters at this stage in the thing where it's like they have to survive for the next fight. And I kind of get that, saying that out loud, that it's a fighting anime. You want to see people fight and they just win this round. But I need a sense of finality when I go into a show about 5 death row inmates and all these fights are to the death. Like, I would prefer more death in these fights. That's my biggest problem with these.
You love to see people die. That's what you love.
I do, especially when it's a fight to the death.
Yeah. And I guess a couple more things we'll talk about before going into the spoiler territory section. We sometimes talk about the soundtrack, if it's like notable. I don't think it is. I don't know. What do you think?
I like the opening and the ending.
Yeah, they're okay, I would say. I really don't have much to say. I guess we talk about the OP. Like me, it's a skip every time. It wasn't good enough for me to watch it every time.
I watched it about, like, every so often I watched it. I watched it about half the time.
Half the time out of 10.
And I forgot the soundtrack. I don't know if I was dreaming. Like, I thought there was a point where I was just like, I think I really like this soundtrack. Mm-hmm. But now I can't remember it at all.
It was a fever dream.
It was a fever dream. Like this whole fucking show.
Yeah. And then the closing song as well for me, I just skipped it. And then, so the theme of the show, I guess to tie it all together, the theme is, what would it be? Maybe it's pride versus no pride, fighting with your honor versus fighting with no honor at all. It's basically, fighting dirty versus fighting clean. What will win? What is
and
best?
How you want to fight, and how you dedicate your life to a cause to be really good at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I guess that's it. Profound. So yeah, let's go into spoilers section, unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
No, let's do it.
Okay, so if you want to skip this, we'll put a thumbnail, or what's that, timestamp in the description below. So we'll enter the spoiler section in 3, 2, 1. And we're in the spoiler section. So
Baki. Where to start?
I want to know what your favorite fight was.
My favorite fight, probably. There's a lot of good fight. I'm gonna say, do you have one off the top of your head?
I do. I can go first if you want to think about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my favorite fight was, as I hinted to before, Kaoru Hanayama versus Spec. Yeah. I think that was like the first major fight.
Yeah, that was the big one.
And I don't know. I kind of like the introduction to it as well, because how it starts off is Baki's on a date. Ooh, and then Spec kind of sneaks up. He's like stalking them and stuff. And then Spec is like sneaking up on them. And then you think that he's gonna, beat up Baki in the middle of a kiss, and then Kaoru busts out of nowhere, just kind of like, clubs Spec and brings it off to a totally new area of the park that they're in. And
my question about this, before it goes into it, is like, did Baki even see him? He must have, right? Or did he just see Spec's like, oh, that guy's handling it, I'm gonna continue on with my date?
He must have, I think. I mean, I don't know. See, this is one thing they don't really explain. Are Kaoru, Hanayama, and Baki friends? We don't really see them interact much. I mean, they're both in the same age group. But in my headcanon, I think
what happens in your head
Kaoru was, looking out for Baki. He's like, hey, my boy's on a date. I'm just going to make sure everything's okay, because I know someone's going to try and beat him up. And then Spec comes out of nowhere, and won't you know it, Kaoru is there. So yeah, that's my headcanon. They're best friends, but they don't talk about it. They don't need to.
They have that mutual respect.
Yeah. And
but to be honest, it's more probably like Kaoru thinks they're best friends, and Baki's like, "Who's this guy?" Like,
Kaoru writes in his diary.
Me and Baki had such a funny joke where I looked at him and he looked away, like he didn't see me at all. It was great.
Oh, Kaoru. So yeah, like I said, I think Spec is my favorite villain dude, and Kaoru is my favorite good guy dude. It's all from this one fight really. Spec is just this brutal guy, kind of a cocky guy. He's like, oh yeah, time for my, he calls it his apnea rush, which is kind of a mouthful for a special attack. Wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah, it's gotta be
apnea
quick.
rush. It means I hit you for 5 minutes without breathing. And after that, Hanayama's like, you done? I don't know if he says that on the show, but basically he does his version of you done, and then he just pummels him like clean, like just like fucking punches him in the face, boom, over and over again. And he's just like, you want some more? You done? And he just keeps punching him. And then you think the fight's over, but like you said, the fight tends to continue past when you think it's over. The fight continues in the hospital, and Spec has killed every police officer.
Yeah.
No, at the police station. And Spec has killed every police officer there. So good on you, Kaoru Hanayama.
Yeah, because and then that's when does the bullets in the mouth happen? Does that happen at the end of that fight?
No, that happens before that. Yeah, he shows up. So at the fight in the park, when Spec when Spec kind of tries to deceive Hanayama, and he's like, oh, please no more. He shoves a bunch of bullets in his mouth and like pops them all. And so he has like 2 smoking holes in his mouth. But does this stop Kaoru Hanayama? Nope. He just looks like a fucking Attack on Titan character at this point and just keeps pummeling him. And I think that's badass. But yeah, he brings his beat up body. Kaoru brings Spec's beat up body to the police station, where Spec probably wakes up and kills everyone.
He kills everyone. He just like wakes up again. It's just like, Kaoru, come on, dude.
And at this point, there's go ahead.
The framing device of the second fight after the thing is just hilarious to me because it's a cop talking to the camera saying like, "Oh, you'll never guess what happened."
And I like that. It was
It was an interesting way to do it.
Yeah.
And it was just like it was just fun. It's like, oh man, he killed everyone.
Yeah. He flipped over the car, and then I saw them fight each other. And yeah, what follows is, Spec has a gun, and he shoots Hanayama a bunch of times, but Hanayama keeps getting up and keeps punching him. And then that's when he reveals his fucking grip strength, where Spec has him in a, what's it called? Reverse chokehold or something. Damn it, I did jiu-jitsu, I should know this. Anyways, he's choking him out, and Hanayama fucking rips his arm to get out of that grip. Muscle fibers torn. I just thought that was the most badass shit, that his grip strength goes past 100. I mean, that's amazing. And then he ends up, what I really am disappointed by, though, is I wish Hanayama, like, tore out his throat. I thought that's what it was leading up to, but it looks like he just squeezed it, and then Spec passes out.
And that was it. That's why this fight is so... Continue, I guess, with what you're saying. I'll go into
Sorry, yeah. And then Spec becomes a lifeless corpse afterwards because he was defeated, which I thought was crazy. He was like 90 years old.
Yeah, their explanation of that was so... He's like 99 years old, and just because he trained with such purpose for so long, that it kept him alive.
Yeah, the explanation was like he had one goal in mind that kept him fueled.
That's not how that works, doctor.
Again, this is one of those instances where they explain things kind of sideways. They talk about a fucking treasure hunter and how when the dude found treasure, he died.
It's like, narrator, put the drink down, please.
There was once a man who found a treasure.
Then
he died. But yeah, that's what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was saying that because I agree. This was my favorite fight, and I was trying to think of why. But all the action was cool, but it's because it's the first time where this was like our first major fight in the show, and it kept everything fresh in the terms of how much these guys are going to get hurt in a fight, and to think that they're gonna die, just the whole thing about just the brutality of the fight was awesome, and then it ends with like the surprise of all the bullets in the mouth and the face explodes, and then that episode ends. I'm like, oh, that's crazy! Like I got excited about that, but then the next episode, like, oh, he's fine. I was like, okay, if someone survives that, no one's gonna die for quite some time. So then like later on fights, I would say, because then these first 13 episodes are really made up in like kind of 2 big fight arcs. I guess it's versus It's Kaoru versus Spec, and then Dorian fighting fucking lots of people. So it's like, pick your favorite Dorian fight. But after that point with the Dorian fights, that excitement of, oh, the guy just put a bunch of bullets in his mouth and exploded. Like, is he dead? Like, came out of it, Like,
yeah, that's true.
That surprise was gone.
People who definitely should have been dead don't die. Like the dude who got his fucking throat slit and got stuffed into a fucking punching bag. And was there for who knows how long. Was just bleeding out. Yeah, he didn't die.
That whole... because that part made me so fucking mad. Just because it all happened so quick when they were listing his injuries. Because it's a good moment. It makes sense that they brought him back to deliver the finishing blow to Dorian. But then he doesn't even do it. Dorian just wakes up and goes to Doppo and explodes his face. I was like, dude.
These guys are really, really good at not killing the bad guys. And then they end up, this is a good argument, an anti-Batman argument. Kill the bad guys.
Yeah, kill the bad guys.
Then they won't kill any more good people. But they don't do that.
Did we ever get confirmation? Is Doppo dead?
I don't think so. His eye was twitching, and these people. This show does not kill characters, so he's not dead. I would say.
Okay, I'm
putting money on it that he's not dead because his eye was twitching.
But it just happened like so quickly in terms like this was based off the anime, and you can just tell like they skipped a bunch of stuff. Like the guy comes with his injuries and he wakes up from his coma because he's going to defeat him, and the doctor's like, you shouldn't be doing this, and he's like, I know what he needs. It's like, no, but all of his body is broken. It's like, no, and then he delivers the blow, and then like it immediately cuts to Dorian in the hospital. It's like, what's this in his arm? It seems like a failsafe that he installed himself, like an explosive. And then he wakes up, and then Doppo comes home, finds his wife gone, and then he's there, and then he gets punched, and like that's like the end of it. Like that all happened. That was such a quick development. That's just like what is happening right now?
Yeah, I guess to put it bluntly, the pacing maybe is weird. Maybe I don't know if that's the best word, but yeah, like because just before that, there was such a great buildup of this fight between Kaioh and Doppo, and it concludes in a very satisfying way. Doppo is able to strut his stuff, Kaioh gets fucked up, and then after that, it concludes with like maybe a 15-second scene of Doppo getting his face blown up.
Yeah, just like, what did we learn from this? What was the point?
What's the lesson here? Then again, like I said, the show is not over yet, so I'm sure there's gonna be some conclusion to that, maybe. But Kaioh got punched so hard he became retarded, so I don't know. Maybe there is no conclusion.
That's it, candy.
Yeah. That's another weird one. Like I just talked about how like the build-up between Doppo and Kaioh is so interesting, and then it ends with Doppo getting his face blown up, and then Kaioh getting punched once, and then becoming a kid again, basically. Like he regresses.
I kind of get it in terms of I don't. But my problem with that is just like I didn't know a lot about the guy who punched him. Like that whole thing.
Yeah,
it was like who was that dude?
That was Retsu Kaioh, the guy that doesn't say or do anything. That was like probably all he did.
Because Dorian was like challenging into a fight earlier on in the show, so it like kind of made sense that he was the one. But because Dorian wanted him to fight like his way or something, but Retsu wouldn't because it's like that one-on-one fight.
Well, Retsu said that fellow students shouldn't fight each other, and they both train at the same school.
Yeah, okay, that was it. And so it kind of makes sense that he had to come out and be the one to defeat him. And then there's a thing of he should have done that earlier because now all of his friends are mortally injured. So it's like, is that on him for keeping the honor? Because now a lot of people got hurt because of that when he could have ended it pretty quickly. So then there's a balance of that. But I guess that whole people fighting Dorian thing, because that's why the Kaoru versus Spec fight was my favorite. Because the one that had potential to be my favorite was on the roller coaster with Dorian, but two factors prohibited that. One is that the roller coaster didn't last very long. Like I got psyched. I'm like, man, we're gonna be on a roller coaster fight. This is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
And then the problem, and the other problem I had was that it's like, who the hell was that guy fighting him?
He was introduced in the episode, and then he died in the same episode.
Because they went to a carnival, like led by like 1,000 people, and then like he met like a clown inside.
Yeah. He was a member of Shinshin Kai. He was a karate guy. His clown was literally a master of karate. That was kind of a disappointing thing, because the build up to that was like so I didn't introduce or talk about this one character. I don't even remember his name, but he's basically the son of Doppo Orochi, and he's the current head of Shinshin Kai Karate. And he's all like, all right, everyone, look out for this guy. We have to get revenge on him. We have 800 branches of Shinshin Kai. Everyone's going to want to kick this guy's ass, right? And I was like, yeah. Oh, look at all these karate dudes. They're all teaming up to beat Kaioh Dorian. The fucking cab driver, the waiter. They're all Shinshin Kai members.
Dorian in a real shitty disguise.
Yeah. And then they bring him to the carnival, and they're like, yeah, we all want a piece of this guy. And then Kaioh defeats them with just one statement. He's like, are you all really going to come at me at once? That's not very honorable of you. And they're like,
Kaioh's the other guy, right? Or are they both? Retsu Kaioh isn't.
Oh,
this
sorry,
his name?
Kaioh Dorian. So they both have Kaioh in their name because I think that
Okay.
means like master or whatever. But Dorian. So Dorian is like, that wouldn't be very honorable of you if you all ganged up on me, right? And then they're all like, ah, shit, you're right. And then one guy comes up to him, he's like, I'll defeat you. And then of course Dorian pummels him, or maybe I don't even remember if how much he beats the guy up, but probably not that much. Essentially, he shows that he can beat any single one of them, and the buildup of that was just like so flat. It was like, oh,
Because they're like, haha, now you're at this amusement park where you're going to face your fate. And he's like, great, I wanted to come here anyway. Thanks, guys. Yeah. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, that was, I don't know. They built up the good guys so like, oh yeah, they're going to get him, they're all in the unification with Shin Shinkai, and in the end, it didn't really matter. So yeah,
So yeah, that's why overall the Dorian fights had so many cool concepts. Like I loved the balls of this dude to walk into the gym with everybody with a bucket full of gasoline, and then like 30 seconds later be covered with it and lit himself on fire.
Yeah, what's the kung fu behind that? Like getting lit on fire. I want to know that technique.
But don't worry, you're fine afterwards.
They didn't even get to explain that in a sideways manner. The narrator didn't tell me about a guy who got roasted 50 years ago and was able to prevent it because he was like wearing some anti-flame retardant underwear or something like that.
He was refilling his drink. That's why.
Oh, I see. See,
Yeah.
man.
So yeah, the Dorian fights had a bunch of cool moments, but overall, I just think that Kaoru and Spec fight was just overall from start to finish more satisfying.
Definitely, yeah. And I mean, I think part of it is because there was actually a good ending. Like, Spec actually died. Kaoru Hanayama actually won. And in these other fights, there are winners and losers, but then I guess they just don't conclude as satisfyingly. With such a good fight scenes preceding the ending, it's just a shame that it kind of ends in a very dissatisfactory way, specifically with Dorian.
Yeah.
So you say Hanayama versus Spec is your favorite?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to him.
Okay, cool.
Things that I thought was gonna happen when I guess let's talk about the Russian dude for a bit, like his arc. One at the beginning when he beat up that one manager dude who used to be a fighter, and then his two fighters. That whole scene when he gets kidnapped. Remember that?
Oh yeah, and he was at the gym, right?
Yeah. What I don't understand is that manager who he messed up seemed completely calm in all the situation where his two henchmen were going to be like, the shit kicked out of them and like dying. And he was just like, yep, this is what I expected. And I was like, okay, so this was your plan? So I thought he was going to come up with like, we should partner up. We should do something cool. But then the Russian dude just murders him and he pisses on his face.
My thinking behind that was like, he thought he got him, but then like, he must have figured out somewhere in the middle of him being captured, he's like, oh, this guy's faking it, isn't he? And then he just saw his henchman get beat the shit out of. So that's why he was kind of calm, because he kind of figured it out pretty quickly. And then I guess he formulated a plan quickly that, after my henchmen get brutally murdered, I'm going to beg for my life, and I'll be fine. That was probably his plan. But yeah, I don't know. And also that guy was kind of a recurring character, because he got beat up before, and then he got beat up again.
He's like, man, I'm still remembering how your knuckles sliced through my face. Shick, man, I can still hear that sound. Hilarious.
Man, yeah, that guy's pretty ballsy too. Like, if a dude beat you up that badly, would you really try and like take your revenge on him with your henchmen?
Don't worry, guys. I brought 2 people.
2 dudes. Yeah, seriously, man. Bring 4 dudes.
Yeah, maybe.
Bring a gun.
Sure.
Just shoot. Well, I mean, I guess he did shoot him, but. Oh, speaking of which, did you think that the Russian guy was actually wearing a bulletproof vest, or was he so martial artsy that he learned the technique to not get shot?
Yeah, I felt like he learned to like absorb bullets with his body or something. Like I didn't think it was like, oh, bulletproof vest. That's not it, because I don't understand how bullets work in this world.
I think if you have enough muscle, you don't get killed by bullets.
Because it stops in your fleshy, pulpy body.
In your imagine the skin, like. You think they hurt? Like, their skin's stretched to its limits, man.
Yeah.
That would hurt.
That's why they're fighters, because they're in constant pain.
Yeah, they want to die. That's why they want to taste defeat.
How did the Russian dude story end? Last thing I remember, he stole Baki's girlfriend.
Yeah, I think that was where we left off, basically, with that plot point. That's, I guess, kind of the hanging plot thread that we're going to pick it up from. What happened to the girlfriend and the Russian guy and Baki? So I guess the next half of the season will revolve a lot more around Baki. Because, come on, Baki's got to kill him now.
That's not okay. I think that would be fun to do. Who's going to defeat each of these bad guys? The remaining bad guys.
Okay, that's a good one. So let's see. So Dorian and Speck are out of the picture.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure. Unless Dorian's faking it again. You think he's faking being retarded? Is he? That would be some like high level shit, right?
That would be. He might snap out of it or something.
Okay, here's what I think is going to happen to Dorian. Someone's going to punch him in the face, and he'll go back to normal. I think someone's going to try and take revenge. Like the old guy, he's going to be like, this fucker. He's going to punch him in the face, and Dorian's going to be like, I was waiting for someone to punch me out of my retarded-dom.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's going to happen.
But let's assume he's out for the count. That leaves us with Hector Doyle. We haven't seen much of. He's the dude with the fucking razors in his shirt. The Russian guy, Sikorsky. Ryuko Yanagi, which is the oxygen guy. And then on the good guy side, we have Baki, Hanayama. I'm assuming Orochi's still alive. Retsu, and Gouki Shibukawa. So, okay, so I guess I would say Baki, it makes the most sense for Baki to just murder Sikorsky for entering the home of his woman. Yeah. I think that's the safest bet.
Makes sense.
Ryuko Yanagi and Gouki Shibukawa seem to have a history together. So I think one of them's going to kill each other. I think that just makes the most sense, right?
Yeah.
And then Hector Doyle, I don't know. I think they've already used up Hanayama and Orochi, right? So I guess Kaioh kind of beat Dorian, but not really. Didn't get to show off his stuff, so maybe he beats Hector Doyle.
Man, well, I don't know. Let's talk, because in the 13th episode, that was a real shitty stopping point by Netflix, because it just introduces a random character and ends on not a very big cliffhanger. Biscuit is his name?
His name's Biscuit? I thought his name was Oliver.
Oliver Biscuit.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I think, right?
Let's just call him Biscuit.
Yeah, his name's, this one says Olivia Biscuit.
Okay, yeah, so his name is Biscuit.
He's an assassin working for the U.S., possesses an iron body and almost invulnerable to anything.
And he's got like a 5-star suite in prison because the government uses him as a hitman, and so he's able to, like, I guess, negotiate very comfortable living conditions even though he's in prison.
Yeah, so I don't know how he's going to factor into the story. He has to take out one of them if he's introduced, like...
Well, he's probably going to take out one of them, or one of them is going to kill him and show them, like, even America's top hitman couldn't take down these criminal convicts.
So who takes out him? Doyle? I see Doyle as like the least threatening of these 5. How did Doyle get out of jail? Which one was Doyle? Was he the electrocuted
He's the redhead. One? Yeah, he was the electrocuted one, and he got electrocuted, and then he was like, "You should have electrocuted me for like a minute longer."
That's and he escaped. Didn't like his eyes start bleeding? And like, then the guy's like, "What about your eyes?" And you're like, "Yeah." And like Doyle's like, "Yeah, what about my eyes?" Like,
that's a good point.
It's like, man, Doyle's watching that scene over again. It's like, I don't even know how I survived that.
And the narrator explains how he survived because 100 years ago, a dude
struck by lightning.
He was struck by lightning, but he was holding a pen in his left pocket, and that protected him. Yeah, maybe Doyle. We haven't really seen much of him. We don't really know the extent of his abilities. Like we see a little bit. Like he beat up some poor innocent, like some random kickboxer who was named and everything. I guess like maybe he was important in the prior seasons. But yeah, he just disturbed him. He was like on a run, and then he just killed him. So this guy.
The first frustrating part of the show, but like one of the frustrating parts of the show is when Doyle showed up in Baki's classroom to fight Baki. And like Baki's like, oh, and he jumps out the window, and then we don't see Doyle again. Like Doyle was right there. Where did he go?
I guess he gave up. He's like, oh,
he's gone. I spent all my energy to get up here. I'm not jumping back down.
Yeah. I guess I didn't expect that. I guess I'll go home.
Huh. No, I'll just sit in this class. Maybe I should learn something.
Yeah. So let's see. What else to talk about in the spoiler section?
Those were like the big part. This show was just fucking insane.
Yeah. I liked it when the dude got his hand cut off and then he punched a dude in the face. That was cool.
With the nub. But yeah, again, I think I messaged you about that. That's such a weird thing where he's talking about, my hands are the strongest part of me. The hands of a karate master are honed by diamonds and steel and can't be stopped. It's like, you just got your hand chopped off, dude.
Yeah, but then he punched him without his hand. So if he had his hands, he'd be more fucked.
Yeah, like when he broke the cast and showed that he actually did have his hand because he went to a drunk
Back alley doctor.
Back alley doctor. He's like, luckily I was close by.
How do you know these people? Is he a recurring character? Does he fucking attach limbs to these dudes on like a daily basis? Maybe. But yeah, the universe of this show is crazy. Like
Wonky.
it is. Yeah, anything can happen in this show. I wouldn't put past it for them to start adding magic shit out of nowhere. I bet Retsu Kaioh has some magic kung fu we haven't seen.
Yeah, my problem is just like because you don't know what will kill you. You're just like, oh, lighting on fire, that's gonna kill you. You can't do that. It's like, no, he's gonna be fine. Falling from this roller coaster, that's insta death. No, it's not. Like, a bullet to the face, that's gonna kill him. Nope, I eat bullets for breakfast.
And I love that. I kind of love how over the top it is. I've accepted that, but yeah. It can do better with the characters, but
oh yeah, remember how Baki's dad showed up?
Oh yeah. So they kind of hint that. Well, actually, how did they introduce him? They just kind of mentioned like, you're like your father or something, and then you see this dude doing the splits, muscular dude doing crazy splits. It looks nothing like Baki.
And the narrator tells us he's the strongest man in the world.
I really hope we get to see him in action in this season because I want to see because these other guys they're pretty strong. I want to see what the strongest man in the world is like in this universe. What does that even mean? Can he fly? Can he just fucking fly?
Sure. Yeah.
I know he can land gracefully because he landed gracefully after doing the splits.
After chopping a wings off a fly or something?
Yeah, he could chop wings off a fly. Damn, I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
That means his hands are really small, right?
Yeah, well, he did it with his foot. Remember, he did that with his foot, cut the wings off a fly.
Oh. What if he's the size of a fly? And that's why he can so precisely cut the wings off a fly because he's just a little tiny guy.
He's just a tiny dude.
That's why he's the strongest guy because like the proportion of strength to his size makes him the strongest dude.
Yeah,
but
we've
like
never seen him next to somebody, so
yeah. But like just put him like people like it doesn't mean he's stronger than Baki even, but just proportionally he's the strongest guy.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be a twist?
That would be a twist. I was going to say about Baki. I like the training sequence, I guess, with Baki.
A training sequence? Oh, you mean when he was at school and doing the fitness test?
Yeah, and he broke everything.
Yeah.
And the other one I called bullshit. I was like, you can't jump past the sand. How am I supposed to measure? You fail. It's like, dude, you obviously saw he went pretty far.
Use a tape measure. Use a fucking ruler.
Yeah, come on, coach, do your job.
High school teachers, am I right? Sorry to all those high school teachers. That was low below.
I'm trying to think what else. Any other cool fights? There's a lot of just cool moments. A lot of people got their face smashed in. I think my favorite part was actually watching the 5 inmates escape.
Yeah, I would say that is a nice build up to the show because I think the first episodes deal with that, right? Or is it just the first one?
The first episode does it.
Yeah, that was a good way to set it up. Even though it introduced like a shit ton, like half a dozen or more characters, at least it told me what it was going to be about. It was going to be about Baki beating up these 5 escaped convicts with extremely skilled combat abilities. So yeah, that was a cool montage. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't have much to say about it. I feel like I'm just repeating myself. It's a wacky show.
It's a wacky show. Those are the spoilers. The show is insane.
Yeah. So I guess we should just exit the spoiler section, eh?
Yeah.
So let's exit the spoiler section in 3, 2, 1, and we are out of the spoiler section.
Spoiler alert, we talked about a lot of blood and guts.
Yeah, lots of blood and guts, lots of favorite moments involving blood and guts. So let's talk first about the MVP of the show. Cody, do you have an MVP in mind?
I guess my MVP would be... God, I don't want to give it to Dorian because I hate Dorian, but he's just such a good presence throughout the back half of this season that it's tough not to give it to him, in my opinion. But I can't give him the satisfaction, so I'm going to give it to Kaoru because he's the guy, the silent dude who with a big hulking tattoo on his back and had sort of an interesting backstory that was our entry point into one of the first big fights of the show. So overall, I got to give it to him. Kaoru is my MVP.
Okay. Who am I going to give my MVP to? I guess
Most valuable player.
Most valuable player. I'm going to give it to the random biker dude who told his other biker friends that you need to fight fair because it's all about your guts and your pride.
Who was that guy?
He's the MVP. He's the MVP.
Okay.
And I don't know his name, but he's the guy. So now we will go into our conclusion. Sometimes we rate these shows, sometimes we don't. We just kind of talk about whether or not we liked it, whether we'd recommend it. Kobe, would you like to start us off?
About the rating of the show. Yeah, the show is so tough. I really don't know if I like it or not. I like talking to you about it more than I like actually watching it. Because we don't watch these shows together because we're obviously apart. But I think this would have been a much more fun experience if I was watching it with somebody and could react to somebody too. Like on my own watching it, I got bored in a sense of just like how many just back and forth can we see here of a same variation of the same thing. I think this is a show that you should watch with somebody to bounce off of in terms of its craziness and what the fuck ability, and I think that would have made it a much better experience, because the way I have to watch a show is I can't watch the show the way this needs to be watched, because I care about the central characters and the characters themselves. Because my favorite anime is Fate Zero, and that kind of has not a similar premise, but like the idea of just like these different people fighting to the death. And in that show, you really got involved with their backstories and who they were as people. And to me, that's a gold standard. And I can't help but judge all shows that are similar to it in that regard. And because these characters had really no character development, but had awesome fight scenes, that I was a little bit disappointed. So my rating is, I don't know how to, 4 bullets to the mouth.
Nice. So I like the show. I was highly entertained by it. Yes, the characters are hollow. We don't really get to learn about them. But, I've accepted that this is a show that you don't watch for that. You watch it for the crazy fight scenes. And the fight scenes in the show are among the craziest that I've seen in a long time. If you want to see dudes getting brutalized by each other, limbs cut off, bones shattered, muscles torn, faces pummeled to bits, then this is the show for you. And I also recommend you watch it with a friend or two. Kick back, grab a couple beers, watch this show, and have fun with it. I would say I will definitely watch the rest of it when the other 13 episodes come out. And maybe we'll do a review of it, maybe we don't. But either way, I will watch it. And I do recommend it to anyone. I will say, if you like the sports animes that go in depth about the sport, then don't watch this show, because it won't do that. It is a lot of punches and kicks, and it won't tell you the history, the background, the technique behind the punches and kicks. So, don't watch it for that. Watch it for the insane fight scenes.
Watch it. Yeah, it is. That is. If you like insane fight scenes, this is the one for you. Even though, that is the show for you. I think this is the first time, I can't think of a time before that you liked a show that I did not like.
Shoot. Yeah, maybe it's a first. Maybe our memory sucks, though.
Yeah, that is true.
Could be a possibility.
Did you like All Out? That's
I thought it was
rugby
alright.
one.
It was like, I don't know. I've forgotten about it.
You were going to say boring, weren't you?
It was kind of boring.
Yeah,
but, listen to our episode on that to know what I really feel, because I don't even remember.
Good plug.
So yeah, I will give this a stubby wrist to the face.
Ooh,
out of 10.
Good one.
So that's our Anime Ricochet. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I had fun discussing it. Kobe, would you like to sign us off and plug the show and everything else we do?
I would too. Thank you all for listening. And you're right. I honestly think I had more fun discussing it than I did watching it. Just because you make it fun. And as you said before, when you said you just sit back, watch it, get a bunch of people, watch it, drink a couple of beers, and watch the second half. It's like I so hope that I'm in when the second half comes out, because I would love to drink some beers and watch the second half with you.
It's okay. You can plug the show now.
You've been listening to this on Nerd Blaze. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We do a bunch of different content on Nerd Blaze here. We have a weekly anime that we review. The one we're reviewing at the moment is Promised Neverland. We've also done reviews on this Young Justice Season 3. And we'll be back sometime in the future with another exciting episode of Anime Ricochet. Thank you all very much.
See ya!